Melissa and I had been inseparable for over a decade. From college roommates to being there for every major life milestone, she was more like family than a friend. Then I met Sophia, and everything changed. What started as happy tears when I announced my engagement slowly transformed into something darker. I never imagined my oldest friend would become fixated on destroying my happiness. The day she stormed into my rehearsal dinner wild-eyed and determined I finally understood how dangerous blind loyalty can be. Before I share how my best friend became my worst nightmare, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories about navigating betrayal from those closest to you. I first met Melissa during freshman orientation at Northwestern University. We were both studying architectural design and happened to be paired for our first major project. Our styles complemented each other perfectly. I was detail-oriented and analytical, while she brought creativity and bold vision to our work. That project earned us both top marks and cemented what would become a decade-long friendship. After graduation, we both landed jobs at different firms in Chicago, but maintained our close bond. We established a tradition of Friday night dinners, where we would discuss our week-share career frustrations and celebrate victories together. Weekends often involved exploring new neighborhoods, attending architecture exhibitions, or simply watching movies at one of our apartments. Our friend group frequently commented that we operated like a well-oiled machine, anticipating each other's thoughts and finishing each other's sentences. Despite the assumptions from outsiders, our relationship remained platonic. We had briefly discussed dating during our sophomore year, but agreed we valued our friendship too much to risk complicating it. Over the years, several of our mutual friends suggested we were destined to end up together, but we always laughed it off. Melissa dated occasionally, as did I, and we supported each other through heartbreaks and new relationships alike. My life took an unexpected turn when I attended an architectural conference in New York. I was there presenting a paper on sustainable urban development when I literally bumped into Sophia at the coffee station during a break. She worked for a major development firm based in New York and was attending to scout new talent and innovative ideas. We started talking about my presentation, which led to lunch, which somehow turned into dinner. By the end of the conference 3 days later, I knew I had met someone special. The next 2 months involved countless video calls, weekend visits between Chicago and New York, and the realization that I was falling in love faster than I thought possible. When I first told Melissa about Sophia, she seemed genuinely happy for me. She asked appropriate questions about what Sophia was like, her background, and how we met. I remember her saying, "Anyone who puts that smile on your face must be pretty amazing." As the relationship progressed, Sophia and I discussed the logistics of long-distance dating. After 4 months, she managed to secure a transfer to her company's Chicago office, allowing us to really give our relationship a chance. 2 months later, during a weekend trip to Lake Michigan, I proposed. It had been a whirlwind, 6 months, but when you know, you know. When I called Melissa to share the news of my engagement, her response seemed slightly delayed before she congratulated me. I was too caught up in my happiness to notice the strain in her voice. Looking back, that was when the first subtle warning signs began to appear, though I dismissed them at the time. Melissa began questioning Sophia's intentions more frequently. "It seems fast, Ricardo. Are you sure she is not just looking to settle down with anyone, or did she push for the proposal?" These questions felt odd, coming from someone who had always trusted my judgment. When Sophia visited Chicago before her permanent move, Melissa always seemed to have conflicts that prevented her from meeting up with us. During a dinner with our friend group where Sophia was present, Melissa made several comments about rushed relationships usually ending in disaster. She also began reminiscing extensively about our college days and inside jokes that naturally excluded Sophia. I noticed Sophia becoming quieter as the night progressed, but I chalked it up to jet lag from her flight. Despite these small concerns, when it came time to select my wedding party, I wanted Melissa to be my best woman. I considered her my closest friend, regardless of gender norms around wedding parties. When I asked her, she hesitated before accepting, her eyes filling with tears. I interpreted this as happiness, but in retrospect, I realized the emotions were more complicated. Sophia cautiously expressed some concerns about Melissa's behavior after a few more interactions. "She seems to change the subject whenever I talk about our future," she said one night. "And she keeps referring to your life in Chicago as if I am just visiting, not moving here." I defended Melissa, insisting she just needed time to adjust to the changes. The first incident I could not ignore occurred during my birthday. Sophia had planned to fly in and surprise me coordinating with Melissa to ensure I would be available. Melissa organized a surprise gathering at our favorite restaurant but somehow forgot to tell Sophia the correct time. Sophia arrived an hour late to find us all finishing dinner. Melissa claimed there must have been a miscommunication and apologized profusely, but the damage was done. Sophia spent the remainder of the evening feeling like an outsider at my birthday celebration. When Sophia officially relocated to Chicago, we found an apartment in Wicker Park beginning our life together. Melissa's behavior shifted from subtle undermining to more direct interference. She started showing up at our apartment unannounced, often when she knew Sophia would be at work. These visits were accompanied by statements like, "I was just in the neighborhood and thought we could catch up like old times." The frequency of her calls increased dramatically. She would call with emergencies that turned out to be mundane matters or questions that could have waited. When I mentioned these calls to mutual friends, they confirmed Melissa had been asking detailed questions about my relationship and expressing concerns that I was changing since meeting Sophia. Despite these red flags, I asked Melissa to be involved in our wedding planning, hoping to integrate the important people in my life. Initially, she seemed to take the responsibility seriously, creating planning spreadsheets and researching vendors. However, as the months progressed, her helpfulness transformed into subtle sabotage. She scheduled venue tours during times when Sophia mentioned she had important work meetings. When Sophia asked why the timing could not be adjusted, Melissa claimed the venues were booked solid for months. I later discovered this was untrue when I called one venue directly. Important vendor information would mysteriously disappear from our shared planning documents, causing missed deadlines and lost deposits. Melissa would apologize profusely, blaming technical glitches or her own forgetfulness. She also began suggesting extravagant additions to our wedding plans, knowing we were trying to stay within a reasonable budget. Perhaps most uncomfortable were the stories Melissa shared with Sophia's family during planning gatherings. She would recall embarrassing college incidents or exaggerate parts of my past in ways that painted me in an unflattering light. When I confronted her privately, she defended herself by saying, "Your future in-laws should know who they are getting as a son-in-law, flaws and all." My awareness of the problem grew, but I struggled with confronting my oldest friend directly. I made excuses for her behavior, telling Sophia that Melissa was probably just feeling displaced in my life. Sophia's patience was admirable, but I could see her frustration mounting with each new incident. Melissa began appearing at my workplace downtown, claiming she was in the area for a meeting and thought we could grab lunch. These coincidences happened too frequently to be chance, especially when she began showing up at the cafe where I typically took my lunch break. My coworkers started making comments about my dedicated friend. Her attempts to create discord between Sophia and me became more direct. She told me that Sophia had complained about my work hours during a private conversation they supposedly had. When I asked Sophia about this, she was bewildered, stating they had not spoken privately in weeks. In another instance, Melissa suggested to Sophia that I still had feelings for a college girlfriend based on a completely fabricated story. Our date nights were frequently interrupted by texts or calls from Melissa, and twice she appeared at restaurants where we were dining, claiming coincidental timing. After the second such coincidence, Sophia pointed out that we had not told anyone where we were going that evening. The bridal shower incident marked a significant escalation. Melissa, as my best woman, made a toast that left guests uncomfortably shifting in their seats. She spoke about how people often settle too quickly when they are afraid of being alone, and how true compatibility reveals itself over years, not months. The pointed nature of her comments was lost on no one, especially Sophia's mother. That evening, Sophia and I had our first serious argument about Melissa's role in our wedding. Sophia, usually understanding and patient, finally expressed her complete frustration with my loyalty to someone who was actively trying to undermine our relationship. Her words hit home. "You are choosing to protect her feelings over our future together." The next day, I arranged to meet Melissa at a neutral coffee shop. The conversation was difficult, as I finally outlined the concerning pattern in her behavior and established firm boundaries. I explained that while our friendship was important to me, my future with Sophia took priority. Melissa broke down in tears, apologizing profusely and promising to support our relationship properly going forward. For 2 weeks following our talk, Melissa's behavior improved dramatically. She was respectful of our time, made genuine efforts with Sophia, and stepped back from wedding planning, except when explicitly asked for input. I began to hope we had turned a corner. This hope was shattered when Melissa showed up uninvited to my parents' anniversary dinner. She arrived claiming she wanted to drop off a gift but ended up staying for the entire meal. Throughout dinner, she made pointed remarks about family traditions and how certain people might not understand our family dynamics. The tension was palpable, and my mother later called to ask what was happening between Melissa and Sophia. After this incident, Sophia and I agreed that Melissa's role needed to be reduced to regular bridesmaid rather than best woman. I had the painful conversation with Melissa, who initially responded with understanding, but later sent a barrage of texts accusing me of abandoning our friendship for someone I had just met. It was clear that despite her promises, nothing had fundamentally changed in her attitude. As our wedding date approached, the final preparations accelerated. Melissa seemed to have accepted her reduced role attending the necessary events without causing scenes. However, she was noticeably absent from the last two pre-wedding gatherings, including a dinner with both sets of parents. I sent her several texts checking in, but received only brief non-committal responses. The rehearsal dinner was held at Spiaggia, an upscale Italian restaurant overlooking Michigan Avenue. The evening began beautifully with touching speeches from family members and friends. The atmosphere was warm and celebratory, as my father stood to give his toast, welcoming Sophia to the family and sharing his hopes for our future together. Midway through his speech, the restaurant doors swung open dramatically, revealing Melissa. Her entrance immediately commanded attention, her clothing disheveled, her eyes unfocused, and her movements unsteady. The signs of intoxication were unmistakable, as she loudly announced, "I need to say something before this goes any further." My father awkwardly paused his toast as Melissa wobbled toward the center of the room. Sophia gripped my hand under the table, as Melissa positioned herself directly in front of our table. The room fell silent, guests exchanging uncomfortable glances. "Ricardo and I have been best friends for over 10 years, she began, her voice wavering. "But what everyone here needs to know is that he has confided in me repeatedly about his doubts regarding this marriage." Gasps rippled through the room, as Melissa continued, her words becoming more outlandish with each sentence. She claimed that I had expressed romantic feelings for her just months before meeting Sophia. She pulled out her phone offering to show evidence of conversations where I supposedly questioned my relationship with Sophia. And has anyone bothered to look into Sophia's past? Melissa's voice grew louder. Did you know she was engaged before? Did you know her company conveniently transferred her right after she met Ricardo? Do any of you find that suspicious? She proceeded to share private details about my past relationships that I had confided in her over years of friendship. Information that was either exaggerated or completely twisted from its original context. The stunned silence in the room was deafening. When she began speculating about Sophia's financial motivations for marrying me, I finally stood up. I quietly asked the restaurant manager to call security. Within minutes, 2 security personnel arrived and escorted a still shouting Melissa from the premises. Her final words being, "You will regret this, Ricardo. She is wrong for you." The aftermath was immediate and chaotic. Sophia's family, particularly her brother Anthony, approached me with questions and concern. "Is there any truth to what she was saying?" Anthony asked directly. I spent the remainder of what should have been a joyful evening reassuring everyone that Melissa's claims were completely fabricated, likely stemming from some personal issues she was struggling with. Sophia remained remarkably composed throughout the ordeal, though I could see the hurt in her eyes. After the last guest departed, she finally broke down in our hotel room. Why does she hate me so much? What did I ever do except love you? I had no adequate answers, only apologies and reassurances. That night, we held an emergency call with our wedding planner, arranging for additional security at our ceremony and reception. I made the official decision to remove Melissa completely from the wedding party and ensure she would not be admitted to any of the events. Despite the previous night's disaster, our wedding day was beautiful. Sophia was radiant, and the ceremony went perfectly. There was a noticeable absence of drama, though the rehearsal dinner incident was undoubtedly discussed in hushed tones among guests. We departed for our honeymoon in Greece, hoping to leave the unpleasantness behind us. Upon our return 2 weeks later, it became clear that Melissa's campaign was far from over. My work email inbox contained dozens of messages from her, ranging from apologies to accusations to pleas for meetings. My assistant reported that Melissa had called the office multiple times, claiming various emergencies. Sophia experienced similar harassment at her workplace. Colleagues mentioned that a woman matching Melissa's description had called repeatedly asking for Sophia's schedule, or claiming to need to deliver important documents. On one occasion, Melissa actually appeared at Sophia's office lobby but was turned away by security. Our social media accounts became another battleground. Melissa created posts with fabricated stories about our relationship, tagging mutual friends and even family members. She shared old photos of us together, with captions implying romantic connections that had never existed. When we blocked her, she created new accounts to continue the behavior. More alarmingly, she began appearing at our apartment building regularly. The doorman reported that she would wait outside for hours, claiming to be meeting us. When denied entry, she would leave notes under our door, somehow suggesting she had found ways to access the building. The situation escalated further when several of my clients began receiving anonymous emails containing vague allegations about my character and trustworthiness. Though nothing specific was stated, the implication was clear enough to cause concern. My boss called me into his office to discuss the situation after a particularly important client mentioned the strange communications. Sophia experienced a frightening encounter when Melissa approached her in the grocery store, following her through the aisles while loudly questioning her true intentions with me. The confrontation ended only when store security intervened after Sophia's repeated requests for Melissa to leave her alone. The breaking point came during a crucial client meeting for a major downtown development project. I was in the middle of my presentation when the conference room door opened and Melissa walked in. She introduced herself to my stunned clients as my real partner and began questioning why she had not been included in the project planning. The security team removed her, but the damage to my professional reputation was significant. That evening, Sophia and I agreed we could no longer handle the situation without professional help. We contacted an attorney who specialized in harassment cases, bringing documentation of all incidents over the previous months. Text messages, emails, security footage from our building, witness statements from colleagues, and reports from restaurant and store security all painted a clear picture of escalating harassment. The attorney advised us that we had grounds for a restraining order and potentially additional legal actions depending on how the situation progressed. Filing for the restraining order was a painful decision. This was someone who had been my closest friend for over a decade. But Sophia's safety and our collective peace of mind had to take priority. The court appearance was somber. Melissa arrived with her own attorney but appeared shocked when faced with the mountain of evidence we had accumulated. The judge granted a temporary restraining order requiring Melissa to stay at least 500 feet away from us, our workplaces, and our home. She was also prohibited from contacting us through any medium. During the proceedings, the judge strongly recommended that Melissa seek psychological counseling, suggesting that her behavior indicated deeper issues that should be addressed professionally. Seeing her led away by her attorney looking small and defeated was one of the hardest moments of my life. Despite everything she had done, part of me still cared about the friend I had once known. For 6 months, Melissa complied with the court order. The silence was both a relief and strangely unsettling after months of constant disruption. Sophia and I began the process of rebuilding our sense of security and focusing on our marriage rather than the drama that had overshadowed it. My emotions during this period were complicated. Relief was primary, but guilt lingered. Had I missed signs of Melissa's instability over our years of friendship? Could I have handled the transition of our friendship differently when Sophia entered my life? Logical or not, I felt responsible for not preventing the situation from escalating to legal action. We both began seeing a therapist, which helped immensely in processing the experience. Through therapy, I came to recognize that I had enabled some of Melissa's possessive behavior over the years by always prioritizing our friendship, often at the expense of other relationships. I had mistaken her possessiveness for loyalty and had failed to establish healthy boundaries early on. More revelations came when several mutual friends confided that they had experienced similar, if less extreme, controlling behaviors from Melissa over the years. One friend described how Melissa had systematically sabotaged her relationship with a boyfriend. Melissa deemed not good enough, while another mentioned how Melissa had dramatically reduced contact after he got engaged. A year after our wedding life had found a new normal, Sophia received a promotion at work, and I had established my own architectural consulting firm. We were expecting our first child, focusing on creating the family we had always planned. Then came an unexpected encounter at a grocery store across town. I was selecting produce when I looked up to see Melissa a few aisles over. Our eyes met briefly. She looked different, calmer, more put together than the last time I had seen her in court. She simply nodded in acknowledgement and continued shopping, respecting the distance the restraining order required, even though it had technically expired. That brief, drama-free interaction gave me hope that perhaps she had found help and healing. I never sought to speak with her again, but knowing she might be on a healthier path allowed me to finally let go of some lingering guilt. The experience taught me critical lessons about friendship and boundaries. True friendship means celebrating others' happiness, even when their life path diverges from your own. It means respecting changes and new relationships rather than trying to preserve a status quo that can no longer exist. I also learned about the courage required to end toxic relationships, even long-standing ones. Sometimes loyalty to your own well-being must take precedence over loyalty to a relationship that has become harmful. The hardest boundaries to set are often with those we have known the longest, because history creates powerful emotional ties that are difficult to sever. Have you ever had to end a long-term friendship for your own well-being? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life relationship stories. Your support helps me continue sharing these important lessons. And remember to share this video with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to walk away from relationships that no longer serve your health and happiness, no matter how long they have existed.